Thank you. Nick Quinn to talk about the oil pollution response side of life. The blanking of the tanks is quite critical in our assumption of how much oil is out in the environment at the moment. From some of the slides that you've seen, you can see the black oil travelling along the water there. We're worried more about the darker patches. The sheen is stuff that gives off into the environment naturally. So we're more worried about more the black patches of oil that have gone from the ship over the last 12 to 24 hours and are passing Motiti and landing on the mainland beaches. As you can see, the western side of Motiti there, and the photo just tracks the oil coming downwind and down sea. Again, another shot of the extent of on-water oiling. Now, it's stressed at this stage mainly to the sea conditions and also the response option not being overly effective of conducting on-water response. We're mainly dealing with on-water response within the Tauranga harbour area, and this means that a lot of the oil and bulk oil is going to come onto the shoreline and limit our options of responding to a shoreline cleanup. Thank you. As you can see, we've got a team working and walking the beach there. We've divided up into several areas here. The comment was made, we're in this as a marathon, not a sprint, and that's pretty important to note. So we've got a couple of weeks, several weeks in fact, of this sort of operation occurring, where we gather intelligence, look at the sensitive environment and resources around, prioritise according to those resources, and then we get our teams onto the beach, which started yesterday, and today we've had around 250 people in pretty atrocious conditions working the beach and picking up this pretty dirty and sticky, horrible product. Another shot of the beach, and you can see some of the extent of oiling and the extent washing up on the beach. This is a light to moderate oiling of the beach. We've suffered some pretty moderate impacts and moderate oiling of the beach around the Papamoa areas. Next one. And some of the inlets, a picture of some of the booming that has occurred, I think, around Makatu. One of the issues with again, on-water response and booming, or protecting and deflecting, is the fact that New Zealand suffers from pretty high currents coming in and going out of estuaries, and the booming is at times pretty ineffective due to these high currents. So again, it limits the sort of response options we have to getting on the shoreline and having people go up and down the shoreline. This is one of the forward operating bases that we've got set up. An interesting mix of military, New Zealand Defence Force, and firm support of the trained oil spill responders out on the beach. And the comment has been made in terms of volunteers and the way that we move on volunteers. I think Minister, you're covering that a bit later on. But we've had a huge output from the community in terms of voluntary status, and we're dealing with those sorts of issues. Another shot of one of the teams that we've had on the beach today. Thank you, and this is what we expect in terms of trajectory mapping coming from Rena over the next sort of 24 hours. And this is just showing the darker side of the orange in terms of trajectory mapping coming more onto the beach. We are lucky in terms of the weather. Unfortunately, salvage effort isn't, but the weather helps the natural dispersion of the oil, and with the strong nor'easters, while it has been washing up oil on the beach, it's also been naturally dispersing the oil into the environment.